Okay, so this is our second last class of basic English. It's good to see you all here. Uh, let's open with a word of prayer and then we can get going. Please will you pray with me. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we just give you all thanks and praise. Lord, just thank you for blessing us with this wonderful day. Lord, I just thank you for giving us all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Lord, I just thank you for each and every one that is here this evening. I pray that everything that we do here this evening always brings honor and glory to your name. Lord, we just ask you to be with those that are still on their way as they make their way to the building. Just be with them and keep them safe. Lord, we thank you for Jesus Christ, and it's in his name that we pray. Amen. Amen. Okay. Good evening, Bella. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Brother Josiah, and yourself?
Okay, we all doing good, doing good, doing good. No complaints.
Excellent. That's wonderful.
So this evening, we are going to be speaking about note taking. Okay. But before we go there, uh, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. So remember I spoke to you, I told you I'll play you the videos about this guy that goes for interviews and stuff. But we'll do that later when more of the guys are in the class, so we don't have to do it again. So note taking is very important, right? Especially if you're doing classes like this. Um, you have to take notes, but the notes is your notes, right? So the notes that you take is things that you keep with you. I mean, you'll probably keep it for as long as you can keep it. Most of the times, the note taking you basically taking notes from the classes that you're doing, right? And one of the requirements, as far as I know, is that you have to have a notebook, right? That forms part of your grade for each of the classes. So when you take notes, the instructor is going to grade you on how you took notes, right? So when you do a class maybe on the book of Matthew, so you're going to be graded on how you took notes in that class, whether you were paying attention. Normally, they ask you to hand in your notebook, and they'll grade your notebook and they'll give it back to you. But your notebook is your possession. It's basically how you understood the class that you were going through or the class that you were taking. Um, that's what note taking is all about. But note taking doesn't just pertain to you sitting in a class. Note taking also pertains to you when you do assignments. So when you're doing assignments, you're gonna go to the library, get a book, and you're gonna take notes out of that book. So there's also that will also be um, when you're doing taking notes because you don't when you write an assignment, you don't write exactly everything just out of the book. You make notes and you make a lot of notes. When you do an assignment, you make a lot of notes. It doesn't mean you're gonna use all of that notes in your assignment, but you just take notes and you make notes about what you're reading or what you're researching. Note taking is very important. If you ever go and study in a tertiary institution, note taking is going to be key. One of the big things you are going to be required to do. So tonight we're going to speak a bit about note taking. Um, very basic. Well, I hope it's very basic. To me, it's very basic. Might not be to you, but it is important. It is something that you would have whenever you sit in a lecture or anything, any classroom thing. It's important to take notes, uh, even when you in Bible study or listening to a sermon. It is good just to take notes, and knowing how to take notes or having a strategy on how to take notes helps you because you can write down everything the person says. I mean, it's always virtually impossible. As I talk, it's hard for you to write down everything that I'm saying. So you have to have a way or strategy on how to take notes, that makes it easier for you when you are in class or when you are like in any class or any setting where you are required to take notes. Okay, so let's just share the screen. Okay, so note taking. Just a note, some of these slides are my slides. They slides that I borrowed from other people that's done classes like this. So um
Sorry, Brother Josiah, you're muted.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mela. Okay, so note taking, the practice of writing down or otherwise recording key points of information. Taking notes involves active listening as well as connecting and relating information to ideas you already know. It involves seeking answers to questions that arise from material. Right, so that is about when you are doing research and stuff like that, eh? What that pertains to. Okay, so taking notes doesn't simply mean scribbling down or marking up the things that strike your fancy. It means using a proven system that effectively recording information before tying everything together. Okay, so that this is specifically speaking when you're doing research, right? When you are going to be asked to do an assignment, you're going to do things like this. You're going to take notes, but you must have a system on how you're going to take notes, and a lot of it is eventually you're going to figure out what works best for you, right? Because I might have a system of taking notes that is different to yours or hers or anybody else's. But you're gonna have to develop a way to take notes that works for you. Okay. Um, and you see, you're always constrained to time. Time is always gonna be against you, right? When they give you assignment, there's gonna be a time limit to when that assignment is being, and you have normal lives that you live outside of this class. So you have to develop a way to get as much information, note it down in the quickest way that you can so that you don't run out of time. You see, a lot of times people end up doing assignments when it's just nitty-gritty assignments and they just grab whatever they can and they put it together. And your instructors can see this was just pulled out of the books. You understand? Um, Doing that like you see whenever somebody gives you an assignment to do a paper, like they'll ask you to write a paper of maybe 2 or 3 pages, maybe 3 to 5 pages even, right? So you think it's going to be hard to do that, but it's not hard. If you do good research and good note taking, then writing the paper is the easy part. The hardest part is always the research and compiling it in a way that you're going to present it, right? Because if you do thorough research, it should take you. I mean, research if you depending on a paper, if you're writing a paper of maybe 3 pages long, and you do good research, you can write that paper in an afternoon. But your research needs to be thorough. You see, so for your research to be thorough, you must have a way of taking notes that is going to work for you. A strategy that you develop in order to take down those notes. Okay. So, like it says, there's not just slowing down and writing everything down, but uh, being, I can say, clever with the way you do it. You see, smart, working smart, so you don't have to work hard in the end, if I can put it like that. Okay, improve. So, taking notes can help you to improve your understanding by making you convert difficult ideas into your own words. Prepare for writing fuller, better connected arguments in your essays, right? It will be more focused and time efficient. I was just speaking about that in your exam revision period, and assess your own progress as you study. So as you take notes, and the thing about taking notes, especially when when you're doing research, it helps you to get a better understanding of your topic that you're researching. Um, at one of the places that I studied at, they did very little tests where you have to write tests and memorize things. Their thing was more, they were more bigger on the research. So when you research something, you go in and you research and you find out the information. And then you have to compile it into a paper and hand it into them. And if they found it to be more effective in you actually remembering your work or understanding your work, you get a better understanding of what you do. Because when you memorize things, it's more like you do it like a cram session, so you get it in there and it doesn't really stay there for a long time. As to whereas you actually do research and you find out information about something, then it makes it you understand it more. You're also taught to do your right argumentative you're taught to do an argument. I'll speak about some of this on Thursday night. But there's things like an argumentative essay. So you have to present an argument with regards to something. So you're giving a topic and you say, baptism is not a requirement for salvation. Now you must write an argument based on that. Or you must write an argument based where that statement is false. You see? So now you can't just write to me and say this the scripture script. You must tell me and present to me where the Bible says that where the Bible will prove the fact that baptism is a requirement for salvation. And so you're going to research it. And I'm going to tell you, give me a 3-page essay on that. You see, so it's just not writing on the you're going to have to research things and go through things, find scripture. Now you find maybe the first account of it in Acts chapter 2, right? That's when we first see where the brethren are being baptized for the forgiveness of their sins. Now you're gonna write about what's happening there. What was Peter speaking about when he preached that sermon? You know, why did it come about? You see? And then you're gonna say, and you're gonna think about what was happening immediately after he told them to be baptized. They were baptized. There wasn't a break in between, there wasn't a day's length in between. It happened immediately. So those are all things that you're gonna use when you write, and then you're gonna carry on and you're gonna record more and more and more information and stuff like that. That's an example of when you're writing assignments and stuff, no? Um, time efficient, I spoke about that. Access your own progress as you study. So as you go on, if you're good note taking will also show that you are understanding the information. No? You got a better understanding of what is going on. Okay, you'll recognize the main ideas. You'll be identifying what information is relevant to the task, to your task. Yeah, that is important because sometimes you get obviously if you take books, there's a lot in the books, and you can sometimes be overwhelmed with all that information in the book. If you have a good strategy to take notes, you're gonna know what you need to take out and what you don't need because you can spend hours reading a book, right? And there's ways in where you can read a book. You don't have to read the entire book, but you can get an idea of what is important in the book by just identifying certain things as you read. As you go through certain chapters, you identify certain things. Because sometimes people will write books where you can get the main idea of what that chapter is all about within the first few lines of that chapter. You see, so you'll be able to pick up on that. No? Have a system of note taking that works for you. I spoke about that. It's something that you're going to have to develop. Reduce the information to note and diagram format. So some people use diagrams to take notes. So they'll make like a key topic. It's almost like a mind map kind of thing, and they'll make lines on there and they'll make circles and they'll jot all those things like that. Where possible, putting the information in your own words and recording the source of the information. So one of the things about writing papers or doing research, it was not your idea. It's not your idea. You make it clear that this came from somebody else, right? If there are things that is your own idea, you write it. Most of it is yours, but there are times that you're going to reference information from a book, right? Any information reference from a book, you make a note there that this came from that person, right? It's just the right thing to do, right? So somebody else wrote this, so I'm just putting it in my own words, but I'm referencing that I got the idea from that person. Um, I think most of your assignments are written assignments. Like you don't type out things or get anything. Are you required to do that? Do you know that yet? Is this only your second course, no? It's not your. Is it your first course or your second course of the? Okay. Yeah. Who's done a course before this? What is the course done before this? Leader. Is it leadership? Leadership. Was it leadership? Were you required to do any essays or? Okay, were you required to type it out or was it okay? No, we just type it. So you were written, and was it like a research thing or was it just? No. What was it? It was just more or less about. Yeah, they will come listen to you. Okay. Okay. So when it says referencing, when they speak about the referencing, they're speaking about recording the source. When they speak about recording the source of your information, is where you got your information from. If you got information from one of the books, you have to make a note about that, and you have to also reference it in your paper, so that they can see you got this where you got this information. Okay. Okay. So that's that. Then reading and note taking strategies, right? So be selective and systematic. Think about your purpose for reading what you're reading. Okay. Like I said, if you are doing a paper on baptism, then that is what you're doing the paper about. Okay. Skim the text. So if you got a book out of the library that speaks about baptism, you go over it quickly, like just maybe look at the contents, look at the headings in each chapter so you can get an idea of what this whole book is about. Then highlight or mark the main points and any relevant information you may need to take notes from. Read the relevant sections and text carefully and take separate notes as you read. Okay, so you must when you're reading, especially if you for an assignment, make notes as you read. You make notes, right? All relevant information you jot down on a piece of paper. The things that are not relevant, don't worry about, because in the you see in the end, if you do thorough research, you'll have so much information that even that information you're gonna have to break down because you're gonna have too much for your paper. You see, that's why I say if you do a good research, then you should be able to write a paper, your first draft of a paper within about 3 hours, if your research is good. See, read, read relevant sections of the text carefully and take separate notes. Okay. Know the purpose for your reading. Why am I reading this? What is the reason why I'm reading this book or why I picked up this in order for what am I doing here? Okay. Set out your notebooks so that you have a similar format each time you take notes. So obviously you're gonna have different classes, and each class is gonna have a notebook. Make sure your notebook format is all the same. Don't do a notebook like this in one way and then you do another one. Make sure your notebooks are all like formatted the same way. Now I'm kind of speaking about when you type it out, but even when you write it out, you write out your notebooks that they have a system that they all look the same, right? And then have columns to distinguish the source of information, and your thoughts can be helpful. Okay, have headings that include bibliographic references, details of the sources of your information are also important. Huh? So that's basically, like I said, your sources where you're getting your information must be in your paper. Right? That's important. At the end of a paper, normally they have what they call a bibliography or a reference page, and that is where you put the information of where you got all your information for your paper. Right? If you read a book in the library, you note who the book is, and there's different ways of referencing. Some I don't know what the format is here, but some places have specific ways of why on how they want you to reference where you got the information. You might just be required to name the book and the author, where you got that information from. Headings.
Is it the footnote?
Yeah, footnotes is one way of doing it. Footnotes is where you just put the like a footnote next to the where you put the whatever you say if you in the text is now where I'm gonna read your information. Then next to you'll put a footnote and you label it number one. Now footnotes carry on as 1, 2, 3, 4. So automatically at the bottom of your page, you're gonna have to fill in what that footnote is. Okay, but at the end, now when that helps because at the end of your paper, you're still gonna have to have a page with all the references on where you got all your information. You still have to put it down. Your footnotes will just be like if I see number one there, then I'm gonna look that's a footnote. So I look where you got it quickly, but you're still gonna have to have one page with all your references or all your where you got your information from listed down on a page. It's very important to do that. The one of it they want to see that you are giving you must acknowledge somebody else's work if they did research. You see. Headings that include public. Okay, we spoke about that. Huh? The use of color highlight major section. The use of color to highlight major sections, main points and diagrams make notes easier to access. No? So like if you have like your notes is gonna be full with a lot of stuff. So when you make notes, you can highlight some of your notes to say that this is important things. You know, like some people highlight their Bibles, they'll make highlights in their Bibles, they'll underline certain things that is important. The same with your notes, you'll highlight certain things, underline certain things, because those are important things pertaining to your notes and the information. Okay. Um, Number two, identify the purpose and function of the text. Now, identify the purpose and the function of the text. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Okay, so read the title and the abstract or preface, no? If there is one. So what happens is when I speak about the title, you're gonna read the title of whatever you're reading. The abstract normally, like if it's a research, an abstract basically gives you a brief idea of what this paper is all about. So so that you like if it's a paper, like somebody wrote a paper about something. So one of the things is called the abstract, would be like almost an introduction, but not really an introduction. The abstract will maybe tell you what the purpose of this paper was, and the outcomes, the desired outcomes of the paper that was written.
Could it be like a let's put it preamble?
Preamble?
Preamble.
Preamble.
That like the thing which you start before you introduce the topic, to write a brief about what you want to write about.
Yeah, that could be the idea of what the abstract is, no? In a book, they call it the preface. No? In a book, you'll always see that thing called the preface. So you read, I mean, when you read books, sometimes people skip all those things. No? They don't read the introduction, they don't read the preface. Those are important things to read in a book. And that gives you an idea of what the book is all about. Reason, and it will tell you the reason why the book was written, and stuff like that, no? If there is one. Read the introduction or first paragraph. Okay. Skim the text to read topic headings and notice how the text is organized. I just spoke about that. No? You don't have to read everything in a book or on a paper. You skim. So you can just go through things easily. And sometimes with papers, when books, there's headings and subheadings. So you look at those things, and then if you see, okay, it's a subheading, maybe there's something important that I need to pick up in it. Then you read that section. You understand? So that you don't have to spend the whole time reading a thick book or trying to get information about a topic that you're writing on. Read graphic material and predict its purpose in the text. So graphic is basically like images and things like that, nothing that you can photos and stuff like that they take. Number three, identify how information is organized. No? So organizing principles. So you have to do past ideas to present ideas, right? A lot of times you will read sometimes books that were written a while ago, and as time has gone by, things have changed. So you have newer books that have different ideas or more relevant ideas to today's culture and society. So organize your things like past ideas compared to the new ideas. Make sure you look at those things, no? Yeah. I used to have, there was once one of my classes where one of my instructors, he didn't want us to use any resources prior to a certain year, like the year 2000. So everything we had to use had to be from 2000 forward till the latest. So he didn't want any old information that was used prior to that year. But not everybody does that. But like you will know, if you look at a book, if you take a book and you open the book, you can see when the book was written. Um, there's normally a what they call a copyright date on there, and you can see when that book was first published. And sometimes the books that come out with a first edition, second edition, and like that, and they will tell you when the first edition was published. So you know how old that book is, or when that book was published. No? Like I got this book, this is the education book part of the education department. And see, my first published date for this book was 2010. So all books will have this information in it. It will tell you who the author was, it will tell you who the publisher was, and if there's more than one edition, it will tell you when the first one came out. So the first one was published in 2010, updated in 2011, and the 13th impression was in 2021. Right, so this book is the latest, well, the one from 2021. There might be ones that came after that. Right, so this is how up to date this book is. It's a few years old now. In education, especially within the school system, it gets updated quite regularly. They do updates quite regularly. So in a few years, this book will be like old. Um, so always look at that. That's what they mean when you're organizing your ideas from past to present ideas. You know? And as you read and as you do research, you get ideas and you get full information and things like that. The steps or stages of a process or an event. Um, so that'll basically relate to if you're writing about a specific thing, how this came about, how this happened, and things like that. Huh? Most important points to the least important points. Right? So you note these things. You're arranging your information in this way. What is most important and what is least important? Huh? Um, well-known ideas to least known ideas. So there's things that a lot of people will be aware of, and there's things that not everybody will be aware of. So you arrange those information like that, and simple ideas to complex ideas. No? So you have the simple things first, and more difficult things to understand further down in your arranging of your organizing of your things. No? More further down there is more general ideas to specific ideas. Right, so you're gonna narrow it down. You start with general, but you narrow it down to things that are more specific. The largest parts to the smaller parts of something. Problems and solutions, causes and results. You know? So when you're writing things, there's always gonna be that aspect of what is the problem that my paper is presenting, and what was the solution that came up with. If there was a cause for something, what was the result of those things? Right? You must always think your instructor's always gonna ask you to write in a certain way. There's always gonna be a purpose to your paper, right? He can't just tell you write the paper on the book. It's gonna be a big paper because Luke is a big book, right? It's got a lot of information in there, right? But he's gonna be more specific in what he wants you to take out of Luke, right? Um, so like maybe he'll tell you what was some issues that they had to deal with, what were some problems. How did they resolve these issues? How did they resolve these problems? No? Okay. So what's next? So you see here, So on the one side is an example of information. No? On the other side is an example of taking notes with regard to that information. So you see how the difference is between the two. No? The one has got a lot of information on it, but on the other side is just the most important information that you need to take out of that paragraph. So this is what note taking is all about, kind of. So if you read on the one side, it's the information about underwater cameras, right? This is just an example. No? So it says the regular cameras obviously will not function underwater unless specially protected. Though housings are available for waterproofing, 35 millimeter and roll film cameras, a few special models are amphibious. They can be used above or below the water. Most of their cameras are snapshot models, but one, Nikonos, is a true 35 millimeter system camera. Though lenses and film must be changed on the surface, the camera will otherwise function normally at depths down to 70 meters. Four lenses are available. Two of these, which have focal lengths of 90 millimeter and 35 millimeter, will function in air and water. The other two of these will have focal lengths of 90 millimeters and 35 millimeters, will function in air and water. The other two, the 28 and 15 millimeter lenses, will millimeter 15 millimeter lenses work only underwater. Lenses are also available from other manufacturers. So to take notes, underwater cameras. Number one, regular cameras. Special housing is necessary if you're gonna have just a normal camera to use underwater. You need a special housing, right? Amphibious snapshot models, Nikonos 35 millimeters is what you need. The lenses that are available are air and water, so it means you can take outside the water and in the water. You have 35 millimeter lenses, 90 millimeter lenses. Only underwater you have 28 millimeters and 15 millimeters. That's it. You see that?
Mm.
So that was taken out of that text over there, is the information that guy needs. So if I want to know what kind of underwater camera I need, then there's my information. Simple, eh? Okay. Include your thoughts, right? So when taking notes for an assignment, it is also helpful to record your thoughts at the time. Record your thoughts in a separate column or margin and in a different color to the notes you took from the text. All right. So what ideas did you have about your assignment when you read the information? And how do you think you could use this information in your assignment? Right. So like I said, that goes part and part to doing good research. So like what he's saying here is make sure you put your thoughts about that thing as well. So if you read now information about, say, for example, the camera, right? So now you put the information that you got from the text, but you also put your information next to that. Right, so that goes hand in hand. So you know that matches that information. So when you're doing your paper, you know your thoughts is there already. So you just add it in as you're writing your draft, your first draft of your paper. You see, so that just makes it saving time, right? Instead of you still having to put your thoughts in afterwards. So when you find something in a book and you got some information and you're jotting that information down as notes, right? What do you think about that as well? Because the paper is not just, when you do research, it's not just going to be the information that you get from the books. You also have to add to it, right? You have to make a contribution to that paper that you are doing, right? So do that, okay? Right, so how do you think the information could be, how you could use this information in your assignment? Yeah? Um, right. So that is when you're doing taking notes for a written assignment out of a library or book or information. Most of that information that we just spoke about is with regards to that. In class, you're also going to have to take notes. And sometimes that is very challenging because your instructor might be somebody that goes through the information very quickly. right? Because you get some instructors that are not going to wait for you. They're going to have loads of information and you're going to have to record that as quickly as possible. Okay. So listening and taking note strategies, right? So general tips. Here, a clear purpose. Have a clear purpose. Recognize the main ideas, right? Recognize the main ideas that has been spoken about in the lecture. Select what is relevant. You do not need to write everything down that the person is saying. Right? That's going to be hard or virtually impossible to do, to write down everything the person is saying. No? Have a system for recording information that works for you. Okay. So here's one thing that you can do in taking notes is to record a lecture. Right? I'm sure they don't have an issue with it, right? I know we record the classes on Zoom, but you can sit with your phone and you can record, right? So you can make notes, but you can also record. So the things that you might miss that is important, but you can always put it into your notes afterwards if you listen to the lecture again. So use your phones. We got phones. Technology works. It's good for certain things. So make use of it. No? Select what is relevant. You don't need to write everything down. Only to write down the things that is relevant and important. Okay. Um, okay. So before the lecture, revise the previous lecture or tutorial. So always go through the classes that you've been already. So I mean, like we have classes. I think all your courses is in this format. No, where you do 3 classes a week and another 3. So go through the work before you come to class. No? And if you know what is going to be covered in the next class, especially if you're doing textual work out of the Bible, if you're doing a book, now we did maybe Luke chapters 1, 2, and 3 last night. So you know tonight we're going to do Luke chapters 4, 5, and 6. So read over it. It won't take you long. Just read over it when you have some time to do it. Also go over the things that was done the night before. It says pre-read about your topic. No? Check the pronunciation of any new words or discipline-specific language in the pre-readings. That pertains not really to us, but you can take note of that. Rule up pages according to your note-taking system. This saves time in the lecture. All right, so you can make, like I said, underline or highlight certain things. Okay. So during the lecture, be on time and sit in front of the sit in front. We don't really have that kind of system here, but if you're in a lecture hall or you're in a classroom style, they normally have seating from the front that runs to the back. And normally some of the institutes have it running up so that you don't have to listen to somebody there. You're sitting above somebody. So you have a row, and you have a row higher, another row higher, another row higher. So what they're giving just information like tips. Try to sit right in front. Like some lecture classes is huge. Some halls hold up to 100, 150 students sitting in there. So it's big. So if you sit far back and you can't hear very well, even though most of the guys have mics and stuff, sometimes you don't hear too good. So it's good to sit more to the front so you can hear better. Be on time. No, when we have got anything, I mean, as a Christian, we should just be one of our things, be on time for work, be on time for worship, be on time for classes. This is the principle of life that we live. No? Distinguish between the main points, elaboration, examples, repetition, waffle, restatements, and new points. No? We spoke about that. Listen for structural cues. No? So there are things when the person is speaking, they'll make more emphasis on certain things. That's important. Note it down. No? Make notes about certain things. His body and summary stages. Yeah, some of that's not really pertaining to us. Look for non-verbal cues, facial expressions, and hand and body signals. Watch for those things because when they want to stress something, they're going to stress it and they're going to say, this is important. No? So then you make sure you jot that down on your notes. Make sure you do that.
If I may ask, sir,
Yep.
since you gave us this homework, referring to the notes which you were giving us now, what, if I may ask, what is like the purpose of it?
For your homework.
Yes, the way homework which you gave us, so
So,
that we cannot divert the one which we are handing in on Thursday.
oh,
From the
don't worry.
some out of John.
Yeah. I've actually typed out a rubric for you guys. A rubric is basically what the assignment is all about. So on here, I'm gonna give it to you now, seeing that you're asking.
Okay.
Two, four more. I need to use another two. Just like one page. So that's good, yeah, to understand what and for this course eventually I was asked to do a syllabus basically on the day when I started teaching, so we don't have a syllabus. But normally with all courses, you're supposed to have a syllabus. In your syllabus, your course, in a syllabus of a course, it will tell you the objective of the course. It will tell you what is gonna be taught in the course, and it's gonna tell you what your requirements will be to pass the course. Um, for this course, at the time when I started teaching, there was no syllabus. I was asked to draw up a syllabus, which I'm still busy doing, and I'm going to do it from what I taught this class. I'm going to draw up the syllabus. But if you look at this assignment, so it's a basic English writing assignment. The description is 1 to 2 paragraphs summarizing chapter 1 of the book of John. Right? So you know it's chapter 1. I don't want to know anything about chapter 2, nothing about chapter 3, only chapter 1. Okay? Now, the total number of sentences will be between 20 and 25, right? So you got to write for me. I don't want less than 20, right? And I don't want more than 25. That instruction is clear. Special attention must be made to parts of speech, punctuation, grammar, sentence structure, right? There must be at least one question and an emphasized sentence, sorry. Okay, so now look at number 5. Please do not overthink the assignment, as your understanding of John 1 is not being assessed. Okay? Do you understand what I say when I put that there?
I think you may explain a little bit better.
Okay. So sometimes you're going to think that I'm going to want to read what you wrote, your summary is I want you to give me a full understanding of what you know, understand of John 1. I'm not looking for that in this assignment. In this assignment, I'm just looking how you write. Whether you've got an understanding of punctuation, whether you have an understanding of grammar, whether you have an understanding of sentence structure. That is what I'm specifically looking for. If you write something in there that is not the thing, I mean, if you read something and it's not the way that you're meant to understand it, I'm not looking for that in this assignment. When you do the study on the book of John, your instructor is going to want that basically. But in this stage, you must just write what you are reading and write it in your own words and how you see it. Okay? Because I know you could be stuck on that, as in get to something and you don't really understand what the writer is writing here. That's fine. I don't need you to understand if you don't understand it immediately. What I'm looking for is basically that I said. I want parts of speech, punctuation, grammar, and sentence structure is important. And I want to see a question and I want to see a emphasized sentence in the assignment.
Oh, what do you mean by a question and by?
So when you're gonna pose a question, so you pose a question in your summary, and I want to see a question mark at the end. If it's a sentence that you want to emphasis on it, I want to see an exclamation mark at the end of it. That's basically what I want to see. So how you use it, if you know when to use it and how to use
So the overemphasized statement, I thought maybe it's that one would you say you must like have like a catchphrase on your listening.
it. Whichever. If you want to have a catchphrase, but you put an exclamation mark at the end because you want somebody to take note of it. You want emphasis brought to that sentence that you wrote there. Okay. If you're writing, and most of you are, make sure that it's clear enough for your instructor to read so that I can read it. So please, that's what I'm action. No? It's due on the 14th. No? So on class, when we have class on the 14th, is when you need to hand it in. Because I probably won't see you after that. Then, yeah, it says how that it's weighted. No? When I say weighted, it's what percentage you score for each thing, right? So for parts of speech, you're going to get 10% of this whole thing. For punctuation, 10%, for grammar, 30%, and your sentence structure, 50%. And that's the assignment. Okay. And in those other assignments that you did, like these ones, plus that, plus the other one, that will all add up to your full grade for this course. Okay. Eventually we'll have a full syllabus where you can see at the start, before the start of class, how this course is gonna run and stuff like this. Yeah, so that's the assignment. Any questions? Do you understand? Is it clear?
We understood.
Yeah. Okay. Getting back to notes. So look for non-verbal cues, facial expression, hand, and body signal. That is, if you see a guy saying certain things, and he always has a certain way of saying it at that time, and you know that's important. Note it down. Put a note down. No? Okay. Then it says look for visual clues. Copy the content of visual clues or visual aids. Overhead. That OHT stands for overhead transparency. We don't use that anymore. As some things that used to be used in the past. Note the references to names and sources. No. Listen for phonological clues, so voice change in volume, speed, and emotion. So when a guy gets all of a sudden gets louder when he says at certain times, or like you just have to pick those things up. You must know that's important. I must note it down. Okay. Generally, what's more important, information, the speaker will speak slower or louder, and they will direct their attention to the audience. Okay. For more important things. So you note that, so you put that down in your notes. Okay, after the lecture, revise your lecture notes within 24 hours. So go over notes within 24 hours. No? Tidy up your handwriting and fill in any missing bits. Because you know what happens is if you don't do that, you're taking notes and notes and notes and notes, and it's going to become more and more and more and more. So it's going to be difficult to go back to fix up your notes. So do it when you have the time, or at least within 24 hours of when you wrote it down. Because then it's also fresh in your mind and fresh in, you've just done it, and it's not too long ago. Okay? So reviewing makes remembering lectures much easier. Okay, so that will help you. Write a short summary of the lecture, one paragraph in your own words, and then you add it to your notes. So after a lecture, you write a short summary about that lecture, and you add it to your notes. So that becomes part of your notes. Okay. Attach any handouts to your lecture notes as well. So, like I've been giving you a lot of handouts, so yeah, you must attach those. So if the professor gives you maybe a sheet about something, you attach to your notes, you keep it all together. Okay. Don't think there's much more. So common abbreviations. So when you're taking notes, you can make abbreviations for certain things, right? There is general abbreviations that we just use that is part of the language, not part of the English language. And it says many of this is derived from Latin. No? So that is confer, no? Means to compare. It is, this is all Latin. It says that is. Right? So instead of writing the whole word that is, you'll just write IE, no? I dot I.E, I dot E dot. No? Then exemplar grate is for example. Nota bene is note well, NB. The no is numeral, that's for number, and etc, etc, no? It's so on and so on, no? Etc, etc, and so on and so on and so on. Right? So instead of writing and so on and so on, you just write etc. Right? Those are abbreviations. There are more here. Personal abbreviations. So here are some shortened. Here you can shorten any word that is commonly used in your lectures. So and this comes forward where you're going to develop your own system, right? So you're gonna make abbreviation for certain words, for your own words, and you use that. So that will always be part of your notes. You will know what it stands for. Um, so it makes it easier for you to write. Like say for difference, instead of writing the whole word difference, you just write the government, you just write gov. Necessary, you just write NEC, right? Instead of writing baptism is necessary for salvation, baptism is NEC for salvation. But you know what that stands for because it's your notes, right? And that is your things, right? Um, yeah, and that's it about note taking. Any questions? Was it helpful? That's the thing about note taking.
Right.
They don't always teach note taking, and I was actually glad that Paul asked me to teach that because normally they don't teach it, and you have to figure this out all by yourself as you go along. Um, yeah, so note taking is important. You guys don't have. Okay, it's always nice to. I mean, now it's nice to be able to type out your notes and have typed out notes. But written out notes is also you just have to find a way to keep it orderly. Get a file. You know those LibreOffice files, the one with the rings in it, the ring binders, no? So you can punch your notes. But sometimes if it's with paper, doesn't work. So you want to get sleeves and put your notes in sleeves, so that because the paper ones will tear and eventually break, you know. Yeah, so do that. When you're taking notes, make sure you've got pens that work, pens that write nicely. Um, like have highlighters so that you can highlight certain things. So when you make notes, you can highlight that's something important. Things like that. Um, because you're writing, you're gonna need a lot of you like the notepads is good. No? Is that a notepad? Yeah, those kind of things are good to have. So you have like a notepad. Uh, so that one notepad can be your complete note. I don't need to tell you to do that here. Because your notebook, you normally want to keep everything together. So if you're writing on different pieces of paper, it's more than likely going to get all mixed up. So for each class, make sure you got a nice notebook, and that's where you can keep all your notes in there. Um, it's so important because when you're eventually going to teach a class, teach a Sunday school class, teach a Bible class in the building there, then you're gonna go to your notes. That's where you're gonna go reference some things. I still go to my notes. I always go to my notes, especially if I'm teaching a class. Besides getting other information somewhere else, I always go to my notes and see what was spoken about in the class. And add that if it's valuable, going to be valuable to the class, and I add it. So you will always go back to your notes. So it's always to keep your notes important. Some guys, if they do electronic notes, they save it in different places. They save it on a stick. They save it in the cloud, so they can always access it. It's easy for them to access their notes if they're traveling and they're teaching at lectures and stuff like that. So, yeah, note taking is important. No? It's going to be a requirement for any of the classes that you do here. Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, we'll take a break now. It's 8 o'clock. I know I didn't give you a break last night. It slipped my mind, but we'll take a break for 10 minutes. And then all I'm gonna do is go watch some of that videos about interviews. Remember I told you? So watch some of those videos on how to when you're going for an interview, to answer some of the questions. No? Um, just to give you an example of what you can say and stuff like that. Okay, so we'll take a 10-minute break now and we'll be back at 10 past. Wow, what is that again? Just refresh me.
That's a free courses which one can do.
Oh yes, yes. I'll give you the links for that next to do more, to improve your like your resume and stuff like that. Like yeah, I'm gonna give you that. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, so the next part of the class is just to watch some videos. And this pertains specifically to last night's lesson when we spoke about CVs and going for interviews and stuff, right? So the videos here is you are recording it. The videos here is obviously it's British, but it gives some good it gives good tips or on how to answer certain questions in an interview. And some of it actually some of the questions that you asked last night, they're asking here as well, and he gives a good way of answering it. And as an example, so that's just for you just to see some things that you can do when you're in an interview. So there's a job interview without experience.
Nice to meet you, Mark. I'm Richard. Same thing. Thank you very much. Welcome to the interview, Mark. Thank you very much for coming along. I'm going to be interviewing you today for the position within my company. It's really important that you relax. I understand this is your first job interview. Don't be frightened. Try and relax into your arms so I can really get to know the real you. You need to start off, please, and tell me about.
Oh, who's on mute?
Yeah.
No, it's not on mute. Yeah, no.
You put another name.
Job interview. Don't be frightened. Try and relax into your answers so I can really get to know the real you. Can you start off, please, and tell me about yourself? Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview today. I would consider myself to be someone who's very hardworking. I'm full of enthusiasm and passion to start in my first job, and I'm determined to make a positive impact. Having read the job description, I'm confident I have the skills and qualities needed to really excel in the job role. And I believe this being my first job is actually an advantage to you because you can take and mold me how you need me to be. I also think you'll be impressed by my teamwork ability, my ability to learn and retain information, and my delivering excellent customer service. Okay, thank you for that answer. The next question is, why do you want to work for us? I want to work for your company for three reasons. The first being that you have a great reputation for being a forward-thinking company that delivers excellent products and services, and that means I will be pleased in the role, and I'll have to deliver high standards, and that's something that really appeals to me as a person. I also am aware that it's talented for a staff, and that means I'll get the opportunity to learn and develop off those other people as well. And finally, I'm looking for long-term employment for the company, and I feel the company has a great reputation, and I know I'll be happy to work there for the long term. Okay, on the next question, what are your strengths? I would say that I have many strengths, but the ones that come to mind are my positive attitude and my positive attitude, which I feel really rubs up on those around me. I'm also a fast learner and someone who's able to retain information very well, and that means I'll be able to hit the ground running in the role and also get up to speed really quickly. I also consider myself to be someone who really enjoys working as part of the team to support each other and reach a common goal. I would say I'm a loyal person, someone who has a lot of integrity. So if you work behind me, I would be a really proud member of your team. Thank you very much. So the next interview question is, how many of the time when you delivered excellent customer service? Although I've never been in a job role where to provide excellent customer service before, I know how to provide it and I fully understand how important it is. A recent example comes to mind where I entered the store and I greeted straight away by the customer service assistant. She greeted me with a smile. She took the time to talk with me and understand my needs from the products and services that I have to offer. Now, this enabled her to provide great suggestions for me. I ended up making a purchase, and as she was wrapping the products, she took her time, and that really come through, and it showed that she really cared about the service that she was delivering. Now, when we left the store, the result of that was I had a great feeling. It made me want to go back and make a repeat, which I ended up doing in the end. Now, I understand that for you, I need to deliver that same level of customer service and hopefully bring repeat business to your company also. Okay, tell me, Mark, what's your biggest weakness? I would say my biggest weakness is that I find it hard to say no to people. If someone asks me for help, I'm the type of person who always wants to say yes. And this means I can take on too much sometimes and become so overwhelmed. Although I'm very hardworking, I see my nature to always want to help people. I'm learning that I need to think before I always say yes to everything. Thank you for that answer. The next question, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And this is my first job. I really can stay here for a long time. And I get to do with my performance, which I really believe that we will be. I'm sure we'll still be here in 5 years' time. In 5 years' time, I expect to be a highly respected member of the team. And ideally, I'd love to be in a position where I can help train up new members of staff. Okay, thank you for that. Why are you applying for this job? There are three reasons why I'm applying for this job role. The first being is that it's local to me, so I won't have to travel far. The second being, you have a great track record of success, which means I'll be able to grow alongside your company. The third reason is that I believe there's an opportunity for advancement within your company, which is something that really appeals to me. Okay, thank you. The next interview question, which do you prefer? Working as part of a team or working on your own? To be honest, I prefer working as part of a team. That way we get to support each other and we get to work towards achieving common goals. However, I'm more than capable of working alone and unsupervised. Having recently completed my studies, I've spent many hours alone revising for exams and completing my essays. So I would say I'm the type of person who's adaptable. You can work well both in the team and alone. Okay, thank you. Can you tell me what your availability like? I'm pretty flexible when it comes to availability. I understand that I need to be available as and when required, and my personal life means that I can work the hours needed at short notice. I'm also taking up for you to work as much as possible. I think this is the final interview question, and this is your opportunity to shine. So tell me, why should I hire you? You should hire me for 4 reasons. The first reason being, I'm a fast learner, and it means I'll be able to get up to speed quickly within the job role. The second reason is my positive attitude and my friendly nature. Third reason is my skills and qualities are a match for the job description. And finally, the fourth reason is I believe I'm a great student, which means you can up to be the perfect employee. Okay, Mark, let's see any of these with you. Do you have any questions for me? I just have 2 questions. The first question is, what advice would you give to the successful candidate? Well, my advice to the successful candidate would be to make sure they get up to speed quickly in the role. That's really important. Also to listen to your brief. So if you are successful, I will give you numerous tasks that you are responsible for. Make sure you listen to the plan and then you go away and always carry out your duties on time and to that highest standard as possible. The other piece of advice I would give to the successful candidate is to make sure that you are open to change. We have to change a lot within this organisation to stay ahead of our competitors. And it's also really important that you embrace ongoing development. And I like the type of employee who will always take responsibility for their own learning and development. Thank you. The second question is, what are the plans for the company over the next 5 years? Well, over the next 5 years, we really plan to expand the company. So we interact with our customers on a regular basis. We always ask our customers for feedback, and based on that feedback, we create and develop new products. So we are looking to expand our significantly over the next 5 years, and that's why it's really important in this role, if you are successful, that you always provide outstanding customer service. And I just say thank you very much for giving the opportunity to be interviewed today. Good luck on the rest of the interviews, and I look forward to hearing from you.
You like that, eh? And that's it. And that guy is doing an interview without any experience. I would want to hire that guy, right? Huh? Everything he was asked, he was able to answer. Yeah, he knew it ahead of time, no? Yeah.
You're not that good in English. Sometimes you make up the ideas that you can, but you'll be blocked at some point because you don't know how to say. So you have to be fluent in one thing, but also if you like, let's say you're going for interview in maybe in Afrikaans. Afrikaans is not that good.
Yeah.
You can speak, but the language will be like a barrier for you to express all your ideas.
Yeah.
So that was very challenging.
Yeah. I'm gonna play one more. Okay, I'll play two more, no? I'll play this one first here. Is what are your strengths, no? We saw that guy answered it, but here's actually another player.
Can you tell me what are your strengths? I have several strengths that I believe will be a benefit to your company. To begin with, I always have a disciplined approach to all tasks. I am an exceptional planner and organizer, so you have the peace of mind that everything will be done on time and to exacting standards. Other strengths include the fact that I'm very adaptable and flexible. So to give you an example of this, in a previous role, my manager needed a volunteer to cover a worker who was off sick for several weeks. I agreed to be that person, so I did the work, and I also completed my own too. Other strengths include my speed of working. I'm a very quick learner, and I need little supervision, and also the fact that I am commercially aware. So what that means is I understand that you've worked hard to build your business, and to help you continually thrive, I need to do a great job. I need to be supportive of change.
Okay, so that's just answering that question. And then here's one more. I just wanted to play this one.
Weaknesses to give. Number one, you are not very good at you have to answer the question, what's your biggest weakness? Here's three great weaknesses to give. Number one, you are not very good at public speaking. Number two, you find it hard saying no to people and you end up taking on too many responsibilities. And number three, you find it hard letting go of projects. During your job
You
interview,
see. So good weaknesses, if you can put it like that, no?
interview. Think yourself in one word. Wow, how do we respond to this tricky interview question? What is
Another one.
Here are three body language mistakes to never make in your job interview. The first mistake is slouching. Look at me. I look unprofessional. I don't want to create a positive impression with the hiring manager. The second body language mistake is fidgeting. If you fidget in your interview, it shows you are incapable of concentrating for long periods of time. And body language mistake number three is the overuse of hands. Limit the amount of times you use your hands in your interview to create the right impression. Here are
Okay.
the first mistake.
So if you wanna look at these things, they got a YouTube page and they got a Facebook. It's called English Tuition. No? English Tuition. So there's a lot of videos on there, and you